I had to rebuild this cabinet because I didn't make the first one wide enough, but you didn't see that in the original video. Now that I've got this cabinet redone, it's warming up in the shop, let's see our next project. Got this big old oak slab. I'm gonna do something with it. This is what we're going to try and make. So I changed out my good blade, put a nasty blade on there, cut it right down the center, cut it in the center in half so I could get this into 4 workable pieces. Then I used various tools and implements to create a natural split edge. And of course, when it was all done, we threw it on the CNC and surfaced it to the same level. Then it was important to clean up all the live edges with the wire brush. I used a wire wheel, and that kept the grain, got the grime out of there, and actually enhanced the look. I even made a natural mistake and carved that out. Couldn't even tell the difference when I was all done. Cut it in half, started small, it's my first time. Laid it out, traced around it so I knew where to put the packing tape to keep it from sticking to my piece of plywood. Critical error though, I should have caulked all my seams. It leaked terribly. Use a vacuum to get all the dust out so there wouldn't be little particles in my resin. Used a level both ways to make sure it was level. And then mixed up this quick coat. Got the bristles out of my brush so they didn't get in my resin, and I did this to seal these edges because this dried really quick. And with this seal, it keeps extra air bubbles from getting in your thick pour, and it has to be flashed with a torch as well to get the bubbles out of it. So I mixed the whole amount that I was going to need, which was a tactical error because I wasn't able to use it all because of the leaks that I'm going to get from not sealing it. So I mixed my colors separately from the big batch, and I made a custom color with a little green, a little blue, because the creative director didn't like all blue or all green, but she loved the mix. And I did individual pours in a bunch of different mixes, and it gave me just enough color variation every time. I tried to get a sense of flow by pouring long back and forth, because it is a river after all. The color only comes part way, and then it's going to be clear on top. And I flash it pretty often to make sure that there wasn't any bubble. I used a stick to create a sense of flow and change up my pattern. And flash it when I needed to keep out the bubbles. And then I got my desired look. So when you don't seal it with caulking, you get this mess and you can't use all your material that you mixed. Okay, so it's the next morning, and this stuff is still pretty flexible, and I was really sweating it last night. I didn't think this stuff was ever going to cure, and it was leaking out, and I was having all kinds of problems. I thought maybe the temperature wasn't right out here, so I put some space heaters and just kind of kept it warm just to keep the chill off, even though the temperature's been in the low 70s, but it did. It's starting to catalyze and it's getting harder. So now I'm going to go ahead and mix some more up and flow that in there. And the beauty of this is this hasn't fully cured, so I don't have to sand it or anything, and it'll still bond. I can pour my next coat and we can go on to sanding and the next step. So watch me mix. Timer says we're done. And now this top coat is going to be clear, and we're going to pour it all the way to the top, flashing it as needed. And I learned that you should only pour from one end. That way you only have bubbles on one end, not all the way up and down. But the torch does the trick and takes them right out. And we finally got it completed to the height, and we're going to let it sit. This is the price you pay and the mess you clean up for not caulking it.
Little chisel and wire wheel action cleaned it all up, and then we went back and surfaced to the bottom side. You can see all the resin that leaked out along the bottom. And then when we had that side done, flipped it over, did the other side. I started to use a router, but I didn't like the look, so I went ahead and used a grinder and kind of did a freehand round over. And of course, I had to sand it. But wherever sanding made it too smooth, I came back with a wire wheel and enhanced the grain again. So a final sanding coat, and then I cleaned it up with some acetone, give me an idea how it looked. From 80 to 150, sanded some more, and with the 220, and did the finish sanding. A little air cleanup, and some dusting and wipe down before we put the resin on. So I used my custom spreading device or tool, and then straight from there I went to the custom gloved hand and torch for air bubbles. The bottom side could have been the top side, it looks so good. I use acetone to clean because it evaporates. Don't use water, it'll just raise the grain. Back to the custom glove applicator. So I finally got the pour to the level I needed. All the bubbles are out, and we let it sit overnight. And the next morning, it was still soft, and I was able to cut the drips off with the razor knife. Voila, she's all done. This was only one finish coat. It looked so good I was afraid to put a second coat on it. All I could do was make it worse.
Well, for a first attempt, sure does look good. We did learn a lot building this, and that's good. And I want to give a shout out to Stone Coat Countertops, where I got the material. This isn't a shameless plug. They're not paying me to do this, but when I needed them, I called them, and they were more than willing to help, and it really helped out quite a bit. So shout out to them. You notice that when it was soft, I cut the drips off the bottom. So all we got left to do is sand it, but that's going to be in the next video. The next video, we're going to go ahead and build the base, and that's going to be out of the same white oak that we built the table out of. So we appreciate it if you subscribe, it really helped us out, and we'll see you on the next video.